Hey everyone, my name is Wedge and welcome back to our Best of the Rest series where we talk about all the goodness in Kaladesh not spoiled individually. If you missed previous episodes, you can start right here with White and Artifacts. Good times. In this video, we're going to look at the limited power, constructed power, and just general playability of the rest of the black cards in Kaladesh. If you enjoyed the series, be sure to hit the like button. Helps out a lot. Dund Operative is 2 mana for a 2/2 human rogue. As long as you control an artifact, it gets +1/+0 and has Death Touch. Great way to start. Wow, 2 mana for a 2/2 is bear status. We're all okay with bear status. Becoming a 3/2 with Death Touch for only 2 mana, very good, crazy strong. Controlling an artifact isn't going to be all that difficult in this limited environment, so you need to remember that when evaluating this card's power. Decent filler, but if you have a lot of artifacts, it becomes quite good. Diabolic Tutor is getting a reprint with some interesting new artwork and flavor text. Quote, show them how hot your fire can burn. Really, Liliana? Really? You think Chandra needed that push? Unbelievable. I knew Liliana joining the Gatewatch was going to be interesting. What a pair of troublemakers. Dooku's Scavenger is 6 mana for a 4/6 crocodile. When it enters the battlefield, you may put target artifact or creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. The card going to the top of your library instead of your hand is a big deal. It doesn't replace itself or technically give you card advantage, and 6 mana for a 4/6 is certainly nothing to write home about. But if you need a filler creature at the top of your curve, or if you have a game-ending, huge bomb ridiculousness card, this could provide some extra insurance for it when it surely dies at some point. Not super excited about it, but I get it. And Brawl Bruiser is 2 mana for a 3/1 human warrior. It enters the battlefield tapped. It has menace as long as you control an artifact. Another card dependent on you controlling an artifact. Interesting. Now, I don't actually care that much about the menace ability. Don't get me wrong, I like having a mechanic like that because it'll certainly make blocking really annoying, but the best part about a card like this is 3 power. 2 mana for a card with 3 power is wonderful. Entering the battlefield tapped isn't great, of course, but this provides some real early pressure, and if you have an artifact, again, makes for weird blocks. I like it. Foundry Screecher is 3 mana for a 2/1 bat with flying. It gets +1/+0 as long as you control an artifact. Okay, well this is clearly Black's thing now. You really need to have some artifacts if you're going to play any of these cards, it seems. 3 mana for a 3/1 flyer is way better than 3 mana for a 2/1 flyer. Not that a 2/1 flyer is bad, just 3 power in the air is devastating to a player with no blocker or removal. Can't argue with that. If you find yourself grabbing a few of these screechers early, try to get some early artifacts to supplement them. It'll pay off, trust me. Fretwork Colony is 2 mana for a 1/1 insect that can't block. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on the colony and you lose 1 life. Of course, the nightmare scenario is this card malfunctioning, but short of that, this provides some real inevitability. Not being able to block is going to do even more damage to your life total, but you're clearly going all in on this endgame plan. Now, there is somewhere I like this card more than limited, and that's Commander, especially in a deck that cares about tokens, or even life gain. Eiley would be interesting, Gave would be funny, maybe Karlov if you find ways to move counters. Just some thoughts. It's a funny card, I think. Harsh Scrutiny is 1 black mana for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a creature card from it. That player discards that card, then scry 1. Didn't think we'd see a better version of Ostracize ever, but hey, gotta be surprised sometime. People are comparing this to Despise, and they really shouldn't be. It doesn't hit Planeswalkers, which certainly has a non-zero value. Giving scry 1 is a nice touch to make up for that, but certainly not enough to put it on the same level. Interesting discard spell, it'll see play in Standard only if there's a creature-centric deck that isn't aggro-based. Awkward, I know, but that's what this card's asking for. Make Obsolete is 3 mana for an instant. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn. I am not used to seeing this at instant speed, but now that I have, I love it. Talk about a devastating combat trick, especially if your opponent has a bunch of Servo or Thopter tokens. Great way to nuke a Fabricate deck or any deck trying to go wide. Really gives your opponent a headache in combat, especially after seeing the card. They'll be scared for the rest of the match. Love this card, great combat trick / removal, it's nice. Marionette Master is 4 of anything in 2 black for a 1/3 human artificer with Fabricate 3. Whenever an artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to the master's power. I don't care about this card anywhere else besides Commander. Can you imagine the artifact-based decks who would adore this kind of value? Put in some Vidalcan Aura reaction, maybe a Sidri Galvanic Genius deck. How about Shawroom, the Hegemon, Send Triplets? There are so many options for this card. Fabricating servos is always nice, but if you're more than bolting your opponent each time they destroy an artifact of yours, yeah, things are going to escalate quickly. Night Market Lookout is 1 black mana for a 1/1 human rogue. When it becomes tapped, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This is a card I can get behind. Look at that easy synergy with vehicles. And there are so many vehicles, it isn't going to be difficult to get a few, even the subpar ones if you want. Just mass a bunch of lookouts, get some vehicles, then drain your opponents away. I like this card a lot, perfectly fair for a 1 mana cost creature, and it has a relevant and easily triggered ability. Sign me up. Subtle Strike is 2 mana for an instant. Choose one or both. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn, or put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Obviously, this is meant to be used as a combat trick. Thanks to the card letting you use both options, you can close a gap of 2 power and toughness. Definitely relevant. If you don't use it as a combat trick, or you don't need to, it can still be a removal spell and a pump spell all in one. Cheap, instant speed, fair. I like this a lot, actually. Syndicate Trafficker is 2 mana for a 3/1 Aetherborn Rogue. You could pay 1 mana and sacrifice an artifact to put a +1/+1 counter on the Trafficker, and it gains indestructible until end of turn. Well, now this has to be one of my favorite uses for servo tokens. Wow, this card is strong. Already a 3/1 for 2 with no drawback, sweet. But being able to so easily pump it and make it indestructible, very good. You could even sack clues if you had them in standard. Oh man, I really like this card a lot. Anyone else? Tidy Conclusion is 3 of anything and 2 black for an instant. Destroy target creature, you gain 1 life for each artifact you control. It is 5 mana, but it's instant speed and removal, so you're going to play it. Gaining life for artifacts is nice and flavorful for the Aetherborn, but it's still gravy. Removal is removal, always going to be good. And that's going to do it for the best of the rest of Kaladesh black cards. I will say, black is looking interesting this time around. Much more artifact dependent than I previously thought, but there's a lot of synergy there. Get a bunch of servo production going, and a lot of the black cards really shine. I'm impressed. Just remember that they really need artifacts to be great. Not sure if that's going to be too big of a hindrance, but we'll see. Anyways, let me know what you think about the color. Is this the path you thought black was going to take this time around? Are you surprised they're so dependent on artifacts, even at the common level? Gotta know your thoughts. As always, be sure to subscribe for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. This video is brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. Kaladesh boxes. I'm not sure how long I can talk about them before you realize how good of a deal they are, especially if you don't have an LGS near you or your store is trying to price gouge you. $95 each. Nothing more needs to be said. Click the links if you want some affordable boxes. Let me know when you open the foil walkers. It'll be great. Enjoy.